In this episode, the basic modern mind control torture operation by Alan Barker. I will describe the basic torture setup used against our hypothetical, composite mind control torture victim. The focus is on the effects that the victim experiences, not necessarily the particular technology that is used to inflict it. Remember in all of this that the torture any individual receives can vary. It will vary according to the torturer's motives and technology, but will also be tailored to the psychology of the victim. What might bother one person would not bother another. The professional torturers will start according to how their torture manuals say to go about torturing someone with your profile, but almost all torturers will refine the torture to the individual if they can. As they learn what bothers you, they can focus on that more and more in their torture. As you read this, keep that in mind. These torturers are not any different from the sort you might read about in Red Cross literature, who shot the genitals of victims, etc., except that they have access to abuse the most advanced technology and hide behind an evil US government which sinks to the lowest common denominator of the torturers it protects. First of all, the victim is under constant surveillance. The victim is harassed overtly and covertly, on the street, on internet, etc. All forms of taunting and goading tend to occur. For example, there is a Marco Polo type of "can you catch me" taunting. Any and all sorts of high-tech and low-tech harassment are used. Just because it is sophomoric or pathetic does not mean they will not do it. In fact, this increases the likelihood that the victims will be ridiculed if they complain. The victim soon has to wonder about everything that breaks or goes wrong in their lives. The harassers use their surveillance to see what troubles the victim is having and then try to take credit for causing them. The torturers are often arrogant and even incompetent at their vile torture jobs despite using the most advanced technology to commit treason. The victim is purposely isolated. People close to them are threatened or deceptions are created to make the victim suspect those closest to him or her. Deceptions are launched so victims will blame innocent neighbors for the harassment. Unfortunately, in the despicable circles of mind control torture, it sometimes is a neighbor or even a close family member that truly is responsible. The victim is zapped inside his or her home, or a deception operation is launched so the victim thinks this is what is happening. Heart rhythm palpitations induced by remote technology can cause terror to an individual inside his or her home. The victim's mind is under assault with voice projection, voice cloning. The Village Voice, in an article from July 2001 titled Psycho Warfare, described an Air Force report uncovered by Nick Begich. Quoting from the article, the technology may be able to create high-fidelity speech in humans, raising the possibility of covert suggestion in psychological direction. It may be possible to talk to selected adversaries in a fashion that would be most disturbing to them. This is exactly what they do, and there are several different technologies documented in the open literature which can achieve this. Some victims may be test cases for such psychological harassment techniques, or the method may already be perfected and in covert operational use. 24 hours a day, the victim is subjected to commands, ridicule, and distractions inside his or her private mind. How would it feel if you heard a voice in your head asking, "Can you hear this?" As if someone were calibrating a torture device. The brain wants to respond. It was never meant to be violated in these ways. Interrogation. What might bother you? Any secrets, etc., the pigs might tease out and harass you with. Anything that would insult you they could focus on. Anything that might distract you they could keep you distracted with. Finally, the victim's supposedly private, subvocalized thoughts are somehow read, or inferred and analyzed. There are various levels at which this can occur, from remote heartbeat and eye gaze analysis all the way up to brain implants telemetering EEG signals. Not all victims report this level of surveillance, and certainly just the other harassment techniques mentioned above result in a grotesque human rights abuse. But many victims discover that even their supposedly private thoughts are being violated and manipulated. How do you deal with ordinary social interactions with the pigs harassing you constantly in your mind? Do you act ethically and warn everyone you interact with that their privacy is also being invaded, by way of you? Against your consent? People you interact with either believe you or they don't, but either way the social dynamic is completely changed. The pigs invade the privacy of everyone around you, by using you, even that of your spouse and children. They may also impersonate anyone you see, in your mind, to make it seem as if that person is the one contacting you. They try to make it seem like everyone can hear your private thoughts, that you are broadcasting to everyone. What sort of career are you allowed to have in a system where your intellectual property is stolen the minute you think it up, and where you have to cope with both regular harassment as well as harassment in your mind? All this is in addition to the ordinary stresses of the job, and not to mention that some jobs require actual mental concentration. How sociable are long-term harassment victims with serious cases of ongoing traumatic stress disorder? In American society there are also plenty of vicious jerks who, while not Nazis or torturers, are quick to sense perceived weaknesses in people and home in on them. The Nazis can often just wound a person and then throw him or her to the sharks, bleeding. It is natural for humans to think about other people. It is even natural to run a mental simulacrum process to imagine and empathize with other people. Monkey see, monkey do, air guitar, I was just thinking of you, etc. The rapist pigs try to turn this against the human beings they torture. On our next episode, Living with Constant Harassment. Visit www.targetedindividualscanada.wordpress.com for more information.